Think about walking through a really crowded airport terminal. Most people are, stuck navigating these chaotic, massive lines, just hoping they don't get randomly flagged at security.
Right, the absolute worst.
Yeah, exactly. But then you see those people who just breeze right past. They had this, like, invisible credential, right? A status that instantly changes how the entire system treats them.
Oh, VIPs.
Exactly. Well, today we are looking at a text that claims believers have a spiritual version of that exact ultimate clearance. Welcome to March 31st excerpt from a devotional called Rhapsody of Realities by Pastor Chris.
It's a pretty bold claim to make.
It really is. Our mission today is to decode exactly how this text constructs an architecture of absolute spiritual assurance for the believer. Okay, let's unpack this. Because whether you are religious or you are just intensely curious about human psychology, it is completely fascinating to see how ancient scripture is applied to build a highly resilient modern mindset.
And if you are going to convince someone they actually possess this invisible clearance, you can't just rely on vague feelings.
Right, you need something solid.
Exactly. This text uses incredibly binding, almost legalistic terminology to build its case. It starts by analyzing 1 Corinthians 6:11, focusing heavily on the word sanctified.
Which usually just means holy, right?
Well, yeah, but the text defines it specifically as being separated or set apart by the Spirit. But defining it this way, it essentially creates a psychological barrier. It tells the reader that your baseline just isn't human vulnerability anymore.
Oh, I see. So it's not just telling you, you are good. It's establishing that you are categorically different.
Yes. And what's fascinating here is how the text pushes that separation even further with this idea of being sealed. It describes a spiritual mark, like a literal divine signature, identifying person as God's exclusive possession.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and apparently this mark is explicitly visible to both angels and demons.
That is wild. It is literally like wearing an invisible VIP wristband, or maybe an encrypted digital watermark on your soul that the bouncers of the spiritual realm can just see perfectly.
That's a great analogy.
So what does this all mean for how a believer views their place in the world if they carry this invisible mark?
Well, it shifts a person's entire baseline of security. If you genuinely believe unseen forces are constantly recognizing your elite status, your daily anxieties just shrink.
Because you aren't navigating the world hoping to be ignored by bad luck or spiritual attacks.
Right, you're navigating it with a permanent, highly visible escort.
Okay, but I have to push back here, though. Having an invisible VIP wristband sounds great in theory, but what happens when a believer faces a tangible real-world crisis? Like an illness, a sudden eviction, or a financial collapse.
Right, the real world stuff.
Yeah. How does this text bridge the gap between a purely invisible spiritual concept and actual physical victory in the here and now?
It bridges that gap using a financial concept from 2 Corinthians 1:22. Specifically the word earnest.
Oh, like earnest money in real estate.
Yes, exactly like that. The text that translates to a down payment or a deposit of an inheritance. It argues that this spiritual seal isn't just some fancy badge, but a legally binding guarantee.
A guarantee of protection.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this separation is about distinction, not isolation. It claims believers are separated from things like fear, sickness, and poverty, and separated into a life of peace and dominion.
Here's where it gets really interesting. It's so much like putting a non-refundable deposit on a house. That earnest deposit is absolute proof that the full payment, or eternal glory, referencing Colossians 1:27, is completely guaranteed.
Yes, exactly. It's like a cosmic escrow account.
Right. So how does this text use the idea of Christ in you as an ultimate assurance of worldly victory?
Because that escrow account, the Spirit as the earnest deposit, means the believer inherently has access to everything else promised right now. It's not just framed as comfort for the afterlife.
So the internal mechanism guarantees the external victory.
Exactly. It's an active present-day authority.
Wow. It really is a masterclass in building psychological armor. By layering these concepts like sanctification as separation, the highly visible divine signature, and that locked-in cosmic escrow, the devotional gives the believer a rock-solid structural sense of absolute divine approval.
It really does. And remind yourself how sharply that contrasts with the unpredictable, chaotic nature of the physical world around you.
Yeah, when the news is terrifying or life feels totally out of control.
Right. This text offers a narrative where you are perfectly secure, permanently distinguished, and never overlooked.
Which brings us right back to that invisible VIP wristband we started with. If you truly internalize this text, you walk through life believing you were instantly recognizable to unseen forces at all times. So I'll leave you with this final thought. If this text asserts that carrying this divine signature makes you entirely visible to an audience of angels and demons, how might living with that constant invisible audience completely alter the way a person behaves when they think they are entirely alone?
We trust you were blessed by this episode. To gain unlimited access to Rhapsody of Realities by Pastor Chris, please download the Rhapsody app using the link myapp.rhapsodyofrealities.org. God bless you.